So, if it wasn't already a very busy morning of editing and everything, Vaati just released a 46-minute video of him playing Armored Core 6, and we're gonna watch it here because apparently it has a whole lot to talk about, and he has this stuff sectioned off into chapters. So I'm going to assume there is going to be plenty of spoilers or slight spoilers about mission aspects and then some. So saying now, if you are a little bit on the fence about spoilers, maybe come back later until the game is out and you played it, who knows, we'll see. Yeah, we're just gonna watch this and see what Vaati has to say about his time with Armored Core 6. This is also coming off the heels of me editing a bunch this morning, as well as reacting to the other Armored Core 6 gameplay preview. So I expected this was gonna come. I didn't expect it so soon. But here we go.
So, I've played Armored Core 6, and long story short, the game is just good.
Yay, that's good. It actually looks slightly better compression than the preview. And that was more live stream. Oh, if this is the soundtrack of the game, I love it. I already loved it anyway. Like, you know.
I've never felt so privileged to show off a game before. I know I'm biased since I have this channel and everything,
really?
But the game is just so special. It marks the point where an old franchise is coming back to life. It represents a genre that so many new people will get to try for the first time, and yet it's still undeniably a From Software game with so many familiar hallmarks of their modern game design. But if you are a newcomer to the series, you might be thinking that this combat and UI is overwhelming.
Oh wow.
And you're right, it is. But trust me when I say that it's worth taking the time to understand.
There's been crazy UIs.
So let's start at the beginning.
Also, this is straight new footage
of Armored Core 6.
He's just straight up using new footage.
The game starts with you being sent to infiltrate the planet Rubicon 3. But it doesn't exactly go according to plan. Clearly, the Rubiconians don't want anyone entering their airspace. And it wouldn't be a FromSoft game if you didn't start the game half dead already.
Descent to ISB 2262, Rubicon 3, complete.
Yeah. Wake up.
Position is grid 135. Off target, but within permissible range.
The man speaking here is your handler, Walter, and you are his hound, trained to follow his every command.
Time to fly, 621.
With this, we're shot closer to where we were supposed to be.
If we get our hands on Rubicon's coral, we'll make a killing. Plenty for a merc with a fried brain like you to buy their life back.
Really? Our life can be bought back. How so? Last I checked, we were in a body bag.
Enough chat, back to work.
Yes, sir.
Scavenge the AC Rex ahead and find a valid mercenary license. We're illegals here. You'll need ID to operate.
This is the mech you start the game with. It has an assault rifle, a laser blade, and multi-lock missiles.
An AC! Where the hell did that come from?
Okay. Also, one thing I noticed is on the ground, your energy definitely recharges faster. In the air, it's like a slower recharge. That's interesting to know. I wonder if that's more of a fine-tune that you can do.
In this next section, I'll try to break down how the game plays.
I'm picking up signals from AC Rex.
God, this game.
Follow the markers.
What I'm doing now is called an assault boost. It's the most efficient way to cover great distances. It's also really, really good in combat. You can even dodge during it, like this. If you come to a stop while grounded, you will walk like this, but gliding with your boosters is generally better.
And
This
it's
is your
cooler.
quick boost, your dodge, and then there's one button to jump and ascend. All of this requires energy, which recovers really rapidly
Oh, wow.
while you're grounded.
Glad I caught that.
Find out who they're working for.
Looks like they've got shields. Good thing you've got a blade.
Okay, shields can definitely block
This
bullets.
marks the first AC wreck that we've found.
Extract the pilot data. I'll analyze it from my end.
Thomas Kirk.
This one's already expired.
Damn.
Keep looking.
So, there are multiple paths through this huge city, and it's swarming with enemies.
What?
We got something good.
Could you fight that right now?
That's the PCA's planetside force. Keep a low profile. We don't want them breathing down our necks.
Thanks to the dialogue in this game, missions are really engaging. Either Walter's telling you something, or you're eavesdropping on enemies, or your foes are freaking out because they have to fight you. It's fun.
G7 hot.
Corp license. Easily traced. Forget it.
Let's talk missiles. By default, all missiles go to a single target like this. But if you hold down the fire button, you can launch at multiple enemies instead. You're going to
Okay.
be outnumbered a lot in Armored
I'm
Core,
still wondering
so
how the PC
staying
controls are
mobile
going
and
to be
constantly
like.
firing off missiles is just a good way to play.
Well, yeah, missiles are always good to have, especially when dealing with the smaller targets. Ow, that hurt.
Corp AC. Wait.
So taking about like around 80 to 100 EP per hit.
I overcome multiple enemies here by firing missiles and by making use of line of sight to avoid enemies while I reload.
I wonder if this is going to be similar to Damon's like control scheme. Kind of hope it is. Damon, I think, had the right call for a lot of their stuff. Then again, I might as well get a controller. Reflected. I probably will get a controller when I play this, though. I'll experiment with
Shoulder
both.
ammunition at 50%.
Oh, okay, I like how the AI lets you know.
Let's see about this license.
Funky.
It's still valid, but the pilot's rank is no good. We can't use this.
Oh my God,
There's
Walter.
one last AC wreck to find, and this is the pilot whose legacy you pillage to obtain your new name.
That's it. Try accessing the wreck.
Perhaps unsurprisingly, it's time to prepare for a boss fight. So, as you can see,
No.
I've toggled on my target
Really?
assist, shown here.
Huh?
This is an automatic hard lock mode that's great for focusing on a single enemy.
Rank fits the bill. Call someone. What? Looks like they were onto you after all.
It's your typical early FromSoft boss, an
Yeah, that's what I
enemy
thought.
that you
It felt-
probably won't be able to defeat unless you're comfortable with the fundamentals of the game.
You've got them now. Make it count 621.
Yeah, it seems like if you just go under
You
it,
need
it
to
can't
always keep moving to
do much.
avoid enemy fire. Get hit too many times and your stability will break. Watch and listen for warning signs. Try to stay
Ooh.
close and use your blade.
Oh, that was a
Use
lot of
the
damage.
environment to block enemy attacks. And while all of this is going on, you need to make sure that you're using all 4 of your weapons efficiently so that you can break through enemy defenses and deal massive damage.
Massive damage. Oh, that's cool. That looks cool. Got it. Look good. Oh, mission accomplished.
Registration
Oh.
number RB23. Call sign Raven. Authentication
Ah!
complete. Removing MIA status. Restoring access privileges. This is All Mind, the mercenary support system.
So we're doing identity theft.
Welcome
Okay.
back, Raven.
If you've played previous AC games, you know how good it feels to hear that.
Yeah.
After you've listened to all of your new messages, you'll enter this.
Yes, I love
garage.
this.
Here,
Garage.
you can customize your AC. You can sell its old parts. You can
Good.
buy new parts. And
Yes.
inevitably, you'll realize that the new parts are too heavy for your legs. So
Yeah.
you buy new legs, and
Yeah.
on it
On
goes.
and on.
You can
Oh,
get
those are
lost in
stat
a sea
screens.
of complex cost-benefit
Yes!
analysis here.
I love
or you can
numbers!
kind of just buy the biggest gun you can carry and remember that
And hate them. I
red
love them
numbers
and hate them.
bad, but blue numbers good.
Blue number.
Get by
Good.
that way instead. Whatever your approach, it's surprisingly fun once you get a feel for what every part does.
Is that a
That's
preview of the
not all
weapon?
you can do in the garage.
Hold up.
You can
Hold
also
up. Hold up.
practice
Hold
in the
up.
train.
Hold up. Hold up. Was that a weapon preview?
Whatever your approach, it's surprisingly
Oh my goodness, there's a weapon preview. Well, that's neat. That's really neat.
fun once you get a feel for what every part does.
Yeah.
But that's not all you can do in the garage. You can also practice in the training simulator. You can earn upgrades in the arena. And
Arena.
you can replay old missions. And then, when
Just
you're ready,
right into the missions?
you can sortie onto your next mission. Except, I can't show you the next mission. I actually can't show you the next 4 missions. I
Oh.
can only show you 20 minutes of footage from missions 1, 6, 7, 8, and 11. So
Super
please forgive
specific.
me for all of the screenshots.
That's a fair bit of
I've been showing
missions.
you to save
I like
time
that.
here. Anyway,
I like that
over the
a
course
lot.
of the next 4 missions that I can't show you, I worked my way towards constructing an AC design that I call Black Flint. This build had gotten me through previous Armored Core games, so I figured that it would be able to get me through this game as well. I love this build. It basically uses 2 sets of small missiles to break open enemy defenses, which often enables me to land direct hits with the bazooka and assault rifle. This build was more than enough to take me past the final boss that we were allowed to fight in Mission 11. The end, but not really, because simply beating missions isn't really the end game in Armored Core. The real test of your skill is replaying those missions and
Yeah, I saw
attempting
those
to
rankings.
achieve a perfect S rank in them. I felt
That's gonna
like
be hard,
there was a
but-
chance that I might unlock something cool.
I saw
if
those repair
just ranked
costs.
a few
Ah,
missions,
jeez.
So I gave it a shot. To better my chances of this, I
Tank
decided
boys.
to quickly create a set of 4 diverse builds that I thought might be better suited to each mission. So I made a tank build for Mission 6, a flying quadruped for Mission 7, a lightweight melee build for Mission 8, and a heavy energy weapon biped for Mission 11. Let me take you through each mission with these
Those look like
builds,
bubbles.
starting with Mission
Oh, yeah,
6.
electric bubbles. I
In
bet they're
true
heist time.
Armored Core fashion, each mission starts with a briefing.
Uh-huh.
Good job for you, 621. You're joining an operation planned by Balaam HQ. Check the briefing.
Heard the good news from Walter, did ya? Good. Sit your ass down and listen.
I'm already sitting.
I can't show all of this, but
No!
basically, Balaam is one of the big corporations that wants to break through the locals' defenses here on Rubicon. And for this task, they've enlisted 2 of their own ACs, as well as you, an independent mercenary.
Main system
Independent.
activating combat mode.
Right.
Balaam Group AC Squad Red Guns reporting for duty. Commence mission. Attack! Get in there, you maggots!
Great. An independent merc. It was the wise guy who decided the Red Gun should be taking care of some freelance.
Who gives a shit? We'll handle this mission ourselves.
Tank boy. He's okay. They do have the boots. Oh my god, it's just a flying tank.
No one even told you why we're here.
That's so silly, but I love it.
Us free Red Guns are gonna go climb the wall.
So even tank boys have a. Okay, I'm shutting up now.
This little base is next.
That was a burst.
Good find. Can't take yourself away from chatting with a tag-along? Why don't you start a sewing club together and stitch that damn mouth of yours shut?
This mission does a great job of characterizing Balaam's Red Gun group. Your teammate, Gun5 Iguasu, talks down to you constantly. You can tell he really hates that you're just freelancing for the highest bidder, whereas he's actually proud to be one of Balaam's own Red Guns.
Is he now? Is he?
You corporate vultures. The Rubiconians will never yield. You're going home in armored coffins.
As I fight this enemy AC, I need to talk about these tread legs that I'm equipped with. So they really change how the game feels to play. It feels more like driving around in a vehicle with
That's what I was
these.
getting the
There's
impression
an
of.
incredible sense of momentum and
It
weight to everything,
feels-
which then comes in handy whenever you decide to overboost charge into enemies like this.
Yeah, it feels like there's a lot. Just run them over.
What's more, tank and quad legs absorb recoil from your weapons, meaning you can
Right.
stay mobile while firing heavy weaponry.
Right-hand ammunition.
The Sen's Fortress. The Sen's Fortress
Then I
build is
destroyed the
plausible.
dam. I completed the mission, and even though I thought I played perfectly, I only received an A rank. So I attempted to S rank this mission one more time with this,
Ow.
a reverse-jointed dual machine gunner. I danced circles around my enemies, and I ignored the AC fight at the end and simply focused on blowing up the dam as fast as possible.
The mission.
instead.
No! The Guardian Dam!
With this, I finally received my S rank.
You got lucky, Merc.
Oh, trash
You're
talking.
the only warm body they could find.
Salty.
The red guns are going to be first over the wall. Have fun watching from the sidelines.
You don't have to be a dick, bro.
So, Mission 6 was handed to you by Balaam Industries, but in Mission 7, another corporation called Arquebus has tasked you with taking on the Strider, a mobile resource base that has been extensively weaponized by the Rubicon Liberation Front. To destroy this thing, you need to take out the Eye, a giant laser cannon shielded by 4 main generators. These are your first 4 targets. That is,
So the
if you can
big
get
thing
close
we
enough
saw that-
without the Eye incinerating you.
Yeah.
You have a surge of energy
The
to
big
the
thing.
eye. Watch out, or it'll burn you to ash.
The sheer scale of this enemy is absolutely staggering. Previous games have had arms forts like this before.
I
but
love the
they've
weather
never
effects
looked
so
this
much.
good.
Alright, now you're up close and personal. Take out one of its legs and bring it to a halt.
All hands, prepare for close-range combat. Intercept.
As you climb, you can hear the Strider personnel progressively get more and more panicked. They literally try to detach parts of the Strider to try and get rid of you, but it's no use.
Oh, that's.
Okay, take the enemy AC.
Uh,
Fight for the coal. Defend the sub-generator.
why are you fighting for the coral?
In my
the
S-rank
coral a
attempt for this
thinking
mission,
thing?
I made this energy weapon quadruped build. The unique thing about quadrupeds in this game is that if you tap the jump button while you're airborne, you can hover in place indefinitely.
Oh.
It probably goes without saying that, yeah, this was extremely useful in this mission.
Yeah,
Just
okay.
for some perspective, here's what I looked like on my first attempt.
No! No! Come on, you can make it.
This
You
goes on
can.
for a while. But even then,
Oh,
I still
no.
managed to destroy all 4 generators.
That's a self. Get the
and I
quad
managed
legs.
to destroy the Eye.
It looks like all that energy was sucked into this nowhere to go.
Uh-oh.
Well, 621, you need to get clear of the Strider. See that, 621? The Strider's blowing itself up.
God, it's like a movie.
A fitting end for something built to fail.
That's one hell of a set piece boss map. Is it really a set piece boss? Yeah,
With the
kinda.
Strider down.
That was so
Arquebus
cool,
are
though.
impressed
Ah.
with you, to say the
God.
least. This
I wanna
is
play
the
this
foot in the
game!
door for your handler to ask for a spot on Operation Wallclimber.
Take out the Gatling cannons protecting the city, and the Baus Tetrapod MT further in.
Operation Wallclimber is epic in scale, not because you're taking out a large enemy or anything, but because it's a long mission.
You'll never
I like long
climb the
missions.
wall, Corporation dog.
First,
noticing
you have to
Vadi's
find
going
a
into
way
these
to
missions with
get behind 2 Gatling
expansion
cannons defending the
slot.
city. Then
I'm covering
you
it
have
right
to break
now,
through
so I
the city
apologize.
itself, all
Wonder
while
what that-
avoiding fire from the 16 or so snipers that are positioned on the wall.
I'm shutting up a bit. I'm sorry.
We're under attack. They're in the city.
Just 1 AC. Archivist. They're mocking.
If you remember, in Mission 6, the Red Guns were bragging that they'd be the first over the wall, But if you take the time to explore the city here, you'll find the wreck of Gun 4 Volta, your Red Gun teammate, dead in the streets.
Damn.
I'm not sure what killed him, but the first real challenge for you is defeating the Tetrapod MT.
So, I'm going to pause it right there real quick. So, what I'm thinking is when I'm going to approach these levels is I'm just going to explore everything. Because FromSoft does love that storytelling. And that right there just is a storytelling moment. And I'm probably going to get like a lot of like low ranks, maybe like C's and B's. Probably D's. But looking forward to exploring because I'm really wondering how the scale of these missions are. Like what defines them, because the Battle Fortress one seems like it's a relatively short but sort of boss arena type thing. But yeah.
Who is tucked underneath the wall's main gate. These things are just so much fun to fight, and my build here actually excels at one-on-one combat. It has dual handguns and missiles to break the enemy's guard, and the pile driver which you have to pull out of the weapon bay at just the right moment. And then, after making your way all the way up and through the wall, it's time to face the final boss.
This cutscene.
One of the infamous handler Walter's hounds. Interesting.
Interesting.
You ready to climb the wall? That's the Juggernaut, a heavy mobile cannon. I wouldn't recommend taking it head on. It won't be able to keep up with Steel Haze. I'll distract it while you hit its blind spot.
This boss is easy enough in the first phase when you have a co-op partner, but it's extremely difficult in the second phase.
It feels very Dark Souls spin around.
Understood. Raven, I just got an update from Snail in command. We've got enemy reinforcements incoming. If I don't intercept them, we're both toast.
Oh.
I hate to leave you like this, but you'll have to finish without me.
That's
Without V4 Rusty on my side, I failed my S-rank attempt against this mission. But when you fail a mission in Armored Core 6, you don't always have to start from the beginning. Usually you'll have unlocked a checkpoint and can just reattempt the part where you died with replenished health, healing, and ammunition.
Really?
What's more, you're actually able to switch up your assembly mid-mission as well. So when I failed in my first playthrough on this boss, I simply switched to double bazookas and kept the Juggernaut staggered almost indefinitely. So yeah, checkpoints are a very powerful tool.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think the game's difficulty is designed around you needing to make use of checkpoints. Checkpoints are what give From Software the design space to create long missions and difficult encounters within those missions.
I guess.
But naturally, if you die and use a checkpoint, then you're not going to get an S rank for the mission.
That's what I figured.
When I failed my S rank attempt, I simply
You want to be
switched
perfect?
to
Do it all in one go.
Again, and overcame the mission that way instead.
Yeah. Okay.
Might as well finish the mission and claim those extra credits, right?
Yeah. Okay, I see.
The last mission I can show is mission 11, and it's another long one.
It concerns a certain facility, a watch point. Once, it regulated the underground flow of coral. Now it serves to monitor the dormant veins.
The first part of the mission involves fighting your way through 2 fields of enemies who have long-ranged weaponry.
Just one AC.
Ooh, I saw that in the preview.
Look into that later.
That does nasty damage.
Later,
he is now at
there's
half
a
health.
one-on-one fight against an enemy AC named Sula, who clearly has a history with your handler.
Attacking a watch point. You're incorrigible, Handler Walter. How many of your dogs must I kill before you learn?
Is that Sula?
Walter!
Dog, I feel sorry for you. I really do.
Walter, what did you do, man? What are you? Oh.
You had a different master.
Staggered.
C-1249. Sula. He's an independent mercenary who survived first-gen augmentation. I don't think 2621 will kill him before he kills you.
First generation augmentation? old is this guy?
We're 619 and 620. Dead? Which ones did I kill, I wonder?
Don't let him bait you. Focus.
Gen 4's lot. I hear you make fine hounds with the right training. Shame you'll have to die here.
Sorry, I'm quiet during these fights because I'm trying to, like, absorb everything going on.
Walter, stay away from the watch point.
You dead?
Confirmed. Enemy AC destroyed.
And finally, there's a boss battle.
Probably.
A bullet hell against the autonomous craft named Bolteus.
Yeah, that looks sick as hell.
It's an autonomous PCA craft.
And with a beat of a boss track. Yeah, this thing's very aggressive. If it's, Ah,
Between the missiles, the shotgun, the assault armor, and the flamethrower, this enemy has an insane moveset.
yeah,
The way
they
I
do.
overcame this on my first playthrough was by pivoting to dual assault rifles so that I could just mindlessly
All
hold
the
my
missiles,
fire
man.
buttons down and focus on predicting and dodging its attacks instead. And that worked. Just.
Got him.
And for my S rank attempt, I created Samus, a plasma weapon build with dual pulse guns, a laser cannon, and a shield, and it was awful. Or maybe I was awful, I'm not sure. I had some really cool moments, but between dodging and flying and using my shield and charging my cannon and managing the overheat on my pulse guns, I think piloting this build was just way beyond me at the time, and I got hit a lot. So yeah, even
yeah.
with the checkpoint system,
But that's a fun
the game
build, though.
was tough. And while I'm proud
The
of the
fact
S
that we
ranks
even
I
can
did
have
achieve,
builds
I
like
had
that.
no chance of S ranking.
The fact that we can even create builds like that makes me excited. Like, it seems like there is a good variety of stuff to work with in this game. Again, I cannot wait to get my hands on it.
Any of the longer missions with the limited time that I had, because think about it, to S rank a longer mission, you need to conceive of one build that can overcome many different encounters, all without running out of healing or ammunition by the end of the mission, and that's really challenging, and I'm looking forward to attempting that come
What?
August 25th.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I've used
probably
up
will at
just
some
about
point.
all of the unique footage that I have to show you today.
Ah.
But I still have more to reveal. So if you
noticed.
want to stick around, I'd like to go over a bunch of game mechanics that I haven't mentioned yet. And
Alright.
at the end, I'll also share some more deeper personal thoughts about the game, along with some details that I learned from an interview with the game's lead producer and director.
New
So,
mechanics.
do you remember when I fought an enemy AC back in Mission 6?
Yes.
His name was Index Dunham, and his was an optional AC fight where you kind of just overwhelm him with two teammates. So this fight with an enemy AC is actually optional in this mission, but it's still absolutely worth doing at least once because you see this little icon here? That's a combat log marker. It's a resource for something called Log Hunt, which rewards you with new parts for handing in combat logs and rising through the ranks.
Okay.
It's very cool.
Essential.
You can also
Got it.
actually rematch Index Dunham and a lot of other AC fights too, for that matter, in the arena, in glorious
Okay.
simulated 1v1 combat, which I don't think I'm allowed to show you. But I can show you these menu screens from the garage where it reveals that you are rewarded for these fights with credits, seen here, but more importantly with OST chips as well. OST stands for Operating System Tuning, which is another menu that's also accessible in the garage, and it's here that you can spend your OS chips
Oh, shit.
you earned from the arena across 4 different categories.
Quick turn
First
assault.
are system unlocks, which give you new baseline abilities. Some of these, like the boost kick and the weapons bay, I'd argue are almost essential.
Oh my
Boost kick
God.
lets you press your assault boost button at the end again to deal huge impact to enemies.
Special
like this.
abilities for the mech, more
The
or
weapon
less.
bay lets you equip arm weapons to your shoulders. Note that you can't fire these shouldered arm weapons at all times like you can with regular shoulder weapons. Instead, you have to switch to them manually and then fire them with your arm button. The next category are core expansions, which are these special offensive or defensive abilities. So I experimented with a few. I used Assault Armor, which does a huge AoE, like this.
Ew!
I
Okay,
used
yeah.
Pulse Protection, which puts a barrier in place like this, which was really cool. And I tried
Didn't stop all the
Terminal
misses,
Arm
though, but
as well,
hey,
which
anything helps
will
against
keep
that.
you alive at 1 AP in a situation where you usually would have died.
Denial!
Finally, there are attack
Hold on.
control and damage would have died. 1 AP in a situation where you usually would
That's just denial from. But the same, or denial, last stand. You get the idea.
have died. Finally, there are
Hold on. All right, I'm looking at this real quick. So my question is when it comes to OS tuning, do you have to? Is this like? I don't assume all of these are something you have on at once. Optimizes fire control of AC weapons to enhance all sorts of kinetic damage, including melee weapons. Is this like? Is this just like straight up flat upgrades for your AC throughout, or is this like parts and specifics? I might be missing something here. But yeah, no, these are gonna be fun to work with.
attack control and damage control categories, which simply increase the percentage of damage you can deal or the amount of damage you can heal, or they reduce a percentage of the damage you can
Damage
take.
mitigation.
So upgrading your operating system is a way to straight up make your AC a bit stronger or a bit more versatile, and this is in contrast to the general customization process where
Okay.
you go
I
into
see.
the garage and every part is balanced by being strong in some ways but weaker in others. Next, I want to talk about energy weapons. Energy weapons do not work like they did in previous games.
Really?
Back then, they required a piece of your actual energy bar to fire.
True.
And now, it seems, their gimmick is that energy weapons will overheat if you fire them too quickly. So they don't reload in the conventional sense, which means you have the option to either fire them until they overheat, or to use them sparingly to prevent them from overheating.
Okay.
Additionally, it seems like
Okay.
energy weapons can also be used to cancel out energy defenses of the same type. So, pulse energy weapons will do way better against pulse defenses, it seems. Finally, let's talk lock-on. So, lock-on is actually automatic, meaning as soon as an enemy is close enough and in your sights, your fire control system will target them. And as mentioned before, there's a soft lock state where you have more free movement.
I wanna
and
make a
there's
tank
also
build now.
Hard lock
That
state
just looks too
called
much fun.
Target assist, where your character and your camera will perfectly follow the enemy. To my knowledge, and after reviewing all of my footage, this hard lock cannot be broken. I'm pretty sure.
Really?
And your AC will automatically quick turn to perfectly face your hard locked target at all
Really?
times.
What?
So target assist is very powerful, and it's game defining, honestly.
Yes,
However,
it
you might
is.
have noticed that a lot of the time,
How do you
I played with
break
soft
that
lock,
multiplayer
and
then?
I moved my camera manually with the right
Oh.
thumbstick instead. Now, I was pretty comfortable playing in this manner because that's how previous Armored Core games play, and I've played a lot of them, so it felt more second nature to me. And playing in this manner does give you some benefits. Your motion is a bit more free, and whichever enemy is closest to the center of your screen will be targeted, so you have more control over who you're firing at, which is especially useful when you're surrounded by enemies. However, there is a downside to moving your camera manually with the right stick, and some of you might be able to guess what it is. It's that your thumb isn't free anymore to press the face buttons that are very required for dodging
That's what I was thinking
and
just now.
ascending. And you can't really claw grip because, remember, your pointer and
Claw
middle
grip.
fingers are on all 4 of the weapon triggers, so you can't really use those. So If you want to play soft-locked and control your camera with your thumb, it essentially means that your thumb will have to dart over and tap the buttons for dodge and flight while you're also controlling the camera, which can be done, but you have to stop controlling the camera for a moment to do so.
I know a few games I played like that with.
Most people will
that can
naturally
get annoying.
just gravitate towards playing with target assist turned on most of the time, so that they can be hard locked to enemies instead and not really have to worry about the camera. Yes, this means giving up a bit of control and aim, but it frees your thumb for dodging and flying, and I think those things are generally much more important. And speaking of aiming, let's talk about the FCS part. The FCS part essentially determines how accurate your aim is, and in this game, you see that little reticle trailing the enemy within my lock-on?
Yeah.
That reticle is not always on point with the enemy. At certain ranges, it will waver or it will trail behind the enemy. And that means you'll miss. So each FCS part has 3 main variables. Its close range assist, its medium range assist, and its long range assist. Basically, these values determine how good your FCS will be when tracking enemies at these ranges. So you have to think very critically about what sort of weapons you're wielding when you make a build, and you also have to consider your FCS when you're thinking about
it's like a
how close you
fine-tuned
should
aiming
be to enemies when you engage them. FCS parts also
Okay.
determine the time it takes for your missiles to lock onto enemies.
Ooh, that's
it
important.
also determines how long it takes to acquire a multi-lock on multiple enemies. Finally, I'd like to give some more personal thoughts on the game. First, the story. It's hard to get this point across with limited footage, but as missions play out and you're slowly introduced to all the characters and corporations who also have a lot of character, you really start to feel small, like you're some small piece of the puzzle within your handler's plans, who is himself a small piece of a larger corporation's plans, who are all a small part of this huge war over a resource that is unfolding on Rubicon. And that feels like a very Armored Core vibe to me, and I'm in love with the vibe of this game, and the amazing soundtrack also plays a huge part in that as well.
Oh yeah,
in terms of endings to this story, I can confirm that the game will have multiple. And from my interview with director Yamamura-san and lead producer Ogura-san, it sounds like endings will work a lot like they did in the 4th generation of Armored Core, where new missions will be revealed in New Game Plus, and those missions can be used to take you towards different endings.
New Game Plus missions.
I loved the replayability this brought to Generation 4, and the thought of having New Game Plus with unique content and enemies not just being more difficult is a really great thing in any of From Software's games.
I like that a lot.
So I love to see that. Next, let's talk gameplay. So I could talk for an hour on this point, but what I really want to try and convey to you most is that the movement in this game feels really, really good, and it all comes down to the leg types. For example,
the leg
when
types
you're piloting a reverse
really
joint leg build,
seem to add a
you
lot
feel like
of
your legs
the
can
maneuverability
just
to the game.
claw into the ground and fling you off to the side or high up into the air. And when you throw on a pair of tank treads, you really feel like you're driving a heavy vehicle with weight and momentum. The direction you're facing matters a lot while you're driving. And
I'm already thinking of builds
with
like that.
feeling of weightlessness, to contrast that, I guess, you can opt for quad legs and rain down death from above and have virtually no recoil. I don't know of many games that let you fundamentally change the way your character controls.
Quad legs seem
And
very powerful.
the fact that it goes deeper in the garage is also amazing. You have so much control over so many variables of your movement and abilities because the expanded stat screens are back, and all of this just makes it so much fun playing with different builds, and the game will have a ton of replayability because of this fact.
Oh yeah.
Next, considering the recent success of Elden Ring, a natural question a lot of people are going to have is, will Elden Ring fans enjoy Armored Core 6? And yes, I think they will, because while this is a very different genre of game, it's also the first Armored Core to have a lot of things in common with Souls.
Yeah.
For example, Armored Core 6 now has a completely decoupled camera. Your mech has fast turning speeds. You can heal.
Yeah.
There are checkpoints. Bosses have heavily telegraphed attacks. There's a visual stagger system, a timed block system, and
I had a feeling like
hard lock
everything was
as
going to
well.
be fast turning. The more I
Before
looked
anyone
at
says,
it.
yes, I know that other games have these things, but Armored Core traditionally has not had those things. So
Yeah.
the fact that From Software developed
It works
Elden
good.
Ring and now Armored Core, and the fact that I'm talking to a community of Souls fans means it's fair to draw a comparison to Souls in this case, I think. And also, I know that a lot of people did not expect these things to be quite so present when Armored Core 6 was first announced, but they are
And to be fair, we didn't even expect Armored Core was even going to come back.
here now, and it absolutely makes the game more accessible for Souls fans, and any modern gamer in general also.
Yeah,
But
a lot of touch
what
with
I'm
their
really happy about is
a lot of touch with From's like design philosophies are now heavily mixed in. Is it completely Souls-like? I disagree. I disagree that's not like 100% Souls-like. But yeah, the influence is there. It's like obvious, but I've talked about this in other videos before.
that it still feels a lot like an Armored Core game, even with all of those things.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And most importantly, it's shaping up to just be a good game with those things, and I think that's all most people care about. This
Yeah.
is just yet another familiar generational shift in the gameplay of Armored Core, and I'm here for it, personally.
Same.
All that said, I do, naturally have some concerns about the game.
All right, let's
These
hear
aren't
that.
like terrible problems or anything, it's more like these are things that I'm not really sure how From Software are going to handle. First and foremost, there's PvP. So 1v1 PvP in Armored Core has traditionally been about getting outside of your opponent's sights and outmaneuvering them.
Yeah, that's what I was
But
thinking.
With the way that target assist works in Armored Core 6, I don't really see a way that you can outplay people in this manner anymore. Because unless there's a way to break hardlock, and I don't think there is, you're just going to be stuck in their sights the entire time. So I actually got the chance to ask Yamamura-san, the game's director, about how skill expression in PvP would work with hardlock being a thing, and he replied with quite a few insights. So first, he stated that target assist actually forces you to move and fight with a certain angle of attack. So it's possible that soft lock could help you with your evasion. He also mentioned that flying over the top of enemies might help to prevent you from getting hard-locked. Now, I don't think this would really apply in 1v1 fights, but in fights with multiple people, being above them could absolutely make them less aware of you. So
True.
that's an interesting observation. Additionally, he says that in fights you have to consider enemy stagger meters and consider your own as well. So the way that you fire weapons to build up stagger and then make use of exposed defenses plays a role in skill expression as well, and you won't often just get away with firing all your weapons at once. And then there's also the need to maintain optimal distance, which plays a part in your accuracy and dealing the right amount of damage.
Yeah, we're gonna see some interesting
Therefore,
matches.
both players will be sort of maneuvering to maintain their own personal ideal distance at all times. And then there's just timing in general, which is also very important to dodge enemy fire, and you obviously have to time your own attacks as well, so that they land. Lastly, we've only just learned that Armored Core 6 will feature 6-player multiplayer. And
yep.
I will say, I think target lock, this hard lock, will be way less impactful in 2v2 or 3v3 combat, as those game modes will just have so much going on, and honing in on one player should matter a little bit less. But then, another reason I'm curious about PvP is I think it's just going to be really difficult for From Software to properly balance the fact that you can fire 4 weapons at once. in this
Oh
game.
yeah, that's
So, when I asked Yamamura-san about the
I was
biggest
thinking about
challenges that they faced when developing Armored Core, he answered that balancing weapons was a key focus and challenge for him and the team. And I can see why, because in a lot of games, naturally there are overpowered weapons. It's inevitable. But remember...
And that's why, like, within the first couple weeks of any PvP game, it's always the funnest. Because you don't get a lot of people sweating so hard trying to be the top of the meta. But, which I can clearly easily see eventually this game will have a defined meta of some kind. I hope there's not going to be the best of the best type of build. It's like, I hate that. I think that ruins games way too often. I like to have fun with my builds. But considering 4 weapons, that's going to be a lot to balance around, especially... Well, let's see. What
AC6 is kind of unique in that you can fire 4 of those weapons at once. So
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
If you're firing 4 overpowered weapons at once, just think about how much that exacerbates any potential power imbalance. And in this online age, with people like me who are going to naturally talk about and recommend some overpowered weapons, especially in PvP, that could be an issue. So I think
4 Moonlight Great Swords now
absolutely have their work cut out for them in balancing this game after release. And I think to be the best experience possible, this game is going to need more high-quality balance patches than they usually put out. But
yeah,
I'm sure they're aware of this. So in terms of difficulty, just in the general game, encounters definitely seem hard enough, especially when you sort of get past the beginning of the game. So don't worry about that. My limited footage naturally kind of shows my best moments, but you should know I struggled a good amount at times, trust me. Checkpoints make difficulty less inconvenient, for sure, but they don't reduce the difficulty of individual encounters, if that makes sense.
That fire
They
did
actually
a lot of damage,
enable
damn.
From Software to make them harder individual encounters. What I do think might be a bit overpowered about checkpoints is the ability to switch up your mech's assembly halfway through a mission. As a fan of the older games, I was a fan of not being able to change your mech and just committing to whatever
I felt
build
that
you bring
too.
in. And I think changing your mech is a little bit immersion breaking, and
yeah,
I think it might also risk being a little bit too forgiving, especially for players that understand how to build already. But it might be too early to say, and I could absolutely change my mind on that.
Depends on how crazy the missions will eventually get to.
In previous games, I also really loved the threat of going into debt by playing badly. And
how does that
losing
work out,
credits.
Vaati?
That was a part of the thrill, really. But going into debt is not going to be a thing in Armored Core 6.
What?
So they've confirmed that. I also want to note that AC6 seems to be extremely generous with the credits that it gives you.
We won't go into
Not only
debt?
that, it is very easy to replay missions, and you can also sell parts for the same price that you buy them
okay.
at. So you are
Yeah, I started thinking about that. I saw the repair costs. I think that just takes out of your mission total of what you get back into you. I get it, but boo! Let people fuck up and horrifically go into super debt. It's fine. It's fine. Modern day gaming. Woo. Yeah, especially since a lot of... You know what? The more I think about it, the more of how that would just break certain tubers and journalists. Yeah.
actually going to have a lot of credits, and that is by design. You can tell. I asked Yamamura-san about this, and he said that From Software felt that having too much debt might dampen the fun of the assembly aspect, and since the assembly aspect is like the main part of this game, and it's also the most potentially off-putting part of the game to new players, I can see why they
want
got
the
rid
new.
of debt.
They want a newer crowd.
The benefit to having more credits is that you can buy more parts and experiment with things and just have more parts on hand to switch to in these mid-mission checkpoints, which is also a big thing as well. But do you know what else Yamamura-san said in response to this question?
What's
he
that?
admitted that he too was a big fan of the debt that you could accrue in previous games.
That's
And
funny.
even though that was a punishing system, he said that he liked the feeling it gave, that sense of a severe, oppressive mercenary lifestyle. And so the last point I'll leave you on is what he said right after this. He said that if they have some nice ideas in-house, they might try to revisit the concept of debt in some form in the future. So, Fires of Rubicon sequel confirmed? Probably too early to say for
Yeah, I would say
sure,
too
but
early.
I know that employees of From Software have a really soft spot in their hearts for this franchise, and I really, really hope that Fires of Rubicon resonates with people so that they get the green light to make more of these games. Especially if it means that From Software might start reintroducing some of the more hardcore, more traditional elements of Armored Core. I know that these things can be off-putting to newcomers to the franchise, so I'm not surprised that a lot of them are gone, but it would be so cool if they, got you familiar with the game, with Fires of Rubicon, and then reintroduced some of those things. I think that would be fantastic.
That'd be fun.
If you're curious what those traditional Armored Core elements are, then please consider watching my video where I play through every single prior Armored Core
do
game.
watch that
Or
video.
Come and
It's
ask
a good
me in real time,
retrospective
because
of the series.
I should be currently live on Twitch right now,
Now he's not.
attempting to answer everyone's questions about my time with Armored Core 6. Other than that, thank you for listening to me ramble. Subscribe and be sure to switch on the bell notification so you don't miss new Armored Core videos, and I'll see you in the next one.
Well, that was pretty eye-opening, honestly. I loved hearing a lot about what's in there. I'm actually am a little sad to hear debt is not going to be a thing. But I get it. Some people can't handle it. Yeah. But also, it is funny to hear how he does, the director also does kind of miss it a bit. Because it was a way to punish. I'm trying to think of how I can definitely word this a lot better. It was definitely an interesting system of, like, you fail a mission, you take your costs, you take your repairs, you gotta grind things out. But then again, that would also slow you down significantly. They do want to, like, put this in the hands of newer people who want to experiment with the robots, because that's a lot of stuff. Like, no, this isn't necessarily a series that was part of the mainstream, more or less. It was, well, was it ever mainstream, or was it more on the niche side? No, honestly, I consider Armored Core was way more on the niche side. It never was, like, super big that, like, Souls became. But, yeah. I do like hearing about the missions. The missions sound like they're actually tons of fun, with a lot of personality behind the ones that we've seen. YouTube, can you just please load the video and stop being incompetent for 5 seconds? But there is a lot to go for. Again, still nothing about multiplayer other than, 3v3 and balancing and the hard lock-on. Hard lock-on is interesting because it's like, yeah, that was a legitimate strategy for a lot of people, was either trying to be so fast you get around other people's lock-ons, or you try to sneak up on people. With the hard lock-on, but with the lock-on being as strong as it is, that's clearly going to, like, switch up people's, like, play styles. But then again, you could still probably be way much more faster than, like, a normal mech, just to mess up with their system targeting. And this stuff right here is actually very interesting. The assault armor, I'm probably covering some of it. Assault armor, pulse armor, terminal armor. Is this something that you just, like, are flat out upgrades? Because that's what it sounds like for the probably for more so for the story mode AC. Or is this like you're unlocking parts? I need to get my hands on that a little bit just to see how that feels. But that's a neat little system. I can't wait to try. But anyway, that's about it. I look forward to seeing probably even more stuff that's going to be popping up in the next few weeks, because we still have not seen any multiplayer. And I bet you there will at least be one more trailer, probably a launch trailer. And once it's out, you'll be sure to see a video on my feed about it. Anyway, y'all have yourselves a wonderful evening, night, and morning, and I'll see y'all later. Take care. Bye-bye.